Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much, Alec. Thank you for our introduction and thanks for having me again. I'm always excited for our first Thursday of the month because I know I'm going to see the Elevate Youth team. So today I heard there are new people with us. So anyone who's new, just say hello. I am Chef Tamika. I love doing this class with this program because I am a super outdoorsy person. I like to say the reason I am where I am today is because I had lots of times outdoors growing up in Jamaica, from hiking, walking, helping on the farm, everything you could find outdoors, that was me. It was also a way to escape doing indoors chores. So outdoors keeps you super active, but you get to escape the indoors, you know. I mean, some folks like indoors, but not for me. So I love this program for that reason. I love the mission. So today we're gonna do another amazing recipe. And the recipes we do here are always really good ones to do with your family. I think food is really good because when you have it with family, right? So this chutney recipe came from our very own Gay, who is the one helping with the chat. But also I love chutneys for lots of reasons. The main reason I love chutneys is it's a condiment. So do folks know what a condiment is? Yeah, no. So condiment like ketchup, sauces, anything that adds to a meal. It's a side item. It could be a topper for a sandwich. It could be served with a protein. It's one of those like multifunctional things, usually made from spices, fruit, and acid, in this case, vinegar. And chutneys are primarily from Southeast Asia. So from the Indian continent, from Indian country. And chutneys are usually made with mangoes historically, but here in New England, we have lots of apples, especially during the fall and winter months. This is a really delicious apple chutney we're gonna make today. But as usual, I like to say an organized chef is a really good chef. So let's walk through all our ingredients to make sure we have everything we need. How's that sound? Yeah, thumbs up? Okay, I'm gonna start with our fruit. So I know you have a recipe in front of you, but I want to organize. Folks grab their recipes. Okay, let's go by recipes then. I'm going to show you on this camera all the ingredients. So let's go ahead and have folks pull their recipes out and make sure that we show all the items that we have in the order that they're on the recipe. I'm going to look at mine as well, just to make sure I'm doing it correctly. So the first thing you should have ready for us today is your garlic. And so I have 2 cloves. Usually a garlic is a head, so that big bulby portion is a head of garlic, and then a clove is like 1 portion. So imagine this fist is an entire bulb of garlic, and a single finger is a clove. So we need 2 cloves. Do you have that? You should be minced. I like to crush mine with the back of a knife and then chop it up. So you should have your garlic ready for us. The next thing I have is ginger. We need ginger, either grated or fresh. I have grated ginger and I love to use grated ginger. So just to tell you, my secret is when I buy ginger at the store, I peel it, I wash it, I grate it, and then I freeze it. So that way in ice cubes, that way I always have fresh ginger available. So they were in like foil wrappers because I usually freeze them ahead of time. So it's just like a quick grater and they look like that. Otherwise, you can use powdered ginger. Thumbs up. We're gonna have folks use oil. So almost any oil is okay for this. I'm just using regular vegetable oil. I wouldn't use a coconut oil for this one because it's so nutty and so flavorful. I use a plain olive oil or canola, vegetable oil, or corn oil. Any kind of plain oil is good for this one. Mustard seeds. I didn't have mustard seeds, so I actually skipped it this time. But mustard seeds are really tiny seeds you should have had in your boxes. My mustard seeds were grounded into my garam masala, which is the next thing on your recipe. So garam masala actually means spice, right? For different kinds of masala. I actually have 2 kinds of masala. I have a tea masala, so spices for tea. And I have a garam masala, which is more a savory, which is like for meats and chutneys and different vegetables. So I'm using a garam masala. Now my garam masala has.
Tamika, can I jump in for 1 minute? It's Gay.
Sure.
I just want I should have said this at the beginning. Everybody got a big Ziploc bag, and that Ziploc bag in your box has your garam masala in it. It has, you know, the apricots, the raisins. So everything that you don't see in your box is in that Ziploc bag for this recipe. Okay?
Thank you, Gay, so much for that. So garam masala, a masala is a spice mix. So it's super fragrant, and it has ginger and cardamom and cinnamon and various warming spices that have been pounded or grated and dried down to make a spice mix. So you should have that pre-measured. I have a big old jar, and I'll take what I need using my teaspoon. Apricots. Now this, my friends, if you've never tried a dried apricot, it's super yummy. So you know you have like, they're called like stone fruit. So plums, nectarines, peaches, those are fruits with a large seed in the middle. And when the seed is removed and they're dried down, you get the most delicious, amazing apricot that's dried. I usually just have them as a snack, the same way you have raisins or cranberries. But for this, we're gonna be chopping them up. And these are super delicious. So those dried apricot. The next thing you're gonna look for on your box is an apple. So I'm using a Gala apple, it's my favorite. It's on the sweeter side. But this asks for a tart apple or Granny Smith or Honeycrisp, various types of apples. There's so many varieties of apples out there. And if you're lucky enough like us to be in New England, we're exposed to so many kinds of apples. They come in at various times during the apple season, which is usually the fall, and they hold very well throughout the winter months. So apple is one of those fruits that you almost always have available to us here in New England. So I'm using my favorite Gala. Gala. I'm actually not sure how to pronounce that.
Everybody in your box, you got Honeycrisp apples, in case you're curious what type of apple you got today.
Thank you.
And Tamika, Alec here, everyone here, can you raise your hand if you have been out on an outing with Elevate Youth recently and had some of our apples?
Oh, amazing.
Oh, yes. I see a couple hands. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So those apples are also locally grown here in Massachusetts. So super cool. And real quick, before we continue, Tamika, I just wanted to let you know that the your phone video is off.
Yes, it's off. I'm using this to be showing. Now I'll move back to that once I start my count. Do you need both?
Nope, you're all set.
Okay, great. So you should have your apples. Now, for folks who had time and space in their life to prep their apples, you should have had your apples peeled and chopped, diced. Do folks have that? I have mine intact because I wanted to demonstrate. Thumbs up or thumbs down if you need us to kind of walk you through. I can do mine quickly, but I did think that if some folks wanted to see how I did that. Okay. So let's keep moving, and maybe I'll go over that one more time when we're closer to using it. So we have our apples. We're also gonna have, so we're gonna move into golden raisins or regular raisins. Gay, what do they have in their box this week?
Everybody got jumbo golden raisins.
Yum, yum, yum. So I'm actually using cranberries, just because I plan to eat this with my son and he doesn't love raisins yet. I like to say yet because as we're younger, our taste buds are developing, and maybe you don't like something today or tomorrow or next week, but try it again in 2 weeks or 2 months or maybe a year, and you may like it then. So just for my son's sake, I'm using cranberries, which he absolutely loves, because he doesn't love raisins yet. Always add yet to the end, which means there's possibility, right? So I'm using cranberries, which are very similar to raisins. They're dried fruit. All right, and then we're gonna move into a last few ingredients, which is our red wine vinegar. So as I mentioned before, a chutney is really spices of fruit and acid that's been cooked down. And acid could be any form of vinegar or citrus. In this case, we're using red wine vinegar. I think you have that pre-measured. I'm gonna show you my bottle. It's pretty much, it says wine, but there's no alcohol here. It's pretty much made from grapes. So almost similar to the way that they make wine. It's reduced and fermented, so it's a red wine vinegar made from grapes. There's white vinegar. There's apple cider vinegar. We're using red wine vinegar, which is pretty much just grapes made into vinegar. It's super delicious, super fruity. You also need a tablespoon of sugar and a little bit of salt. Those are together in my case here. And that's all we need for a recipe. How are folks feeling? Do we have all we need? We're gonna dive in. Thumbs up, thumbs down. All right, so I'm gonna go back on camera so you can see me actually prepping for our list. Are there any questions that we should take at this point, Gabe, before we move on?
I think you've covered pretty well. I was just typing in that the red wine vinegar is indeed pre-measured. So you all should have gotten a little Tupperware and it's labeled red wine vinegar. So when Tamika calls for that, you'll just pour that whole amount into the pan, okay?
Yeah, and we need a third. So I went ahead and used my measuring cup, a 1/3. I measured this. It's all here in my jar. Well, in my. So for those who've already prepped their apple, I like to use an apple peel and just remove.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Just give us a minute to get situated. Can you just give us like a minute to get like situated?
Sure. Yeah. I
Okay.
saw the question.
Thank you.
Academic language or technical
I have a question. So I looked at the packet and I guess my packet was assembled a little misjumbled. So I thought we were making the applesauce, but our applesauce recipe is like really dark. Can you send me the applesauce recipe so that way we can make that too? Because I've already like peeled all of the apples and cut them. So I'd like to make it tonight so that they don't get all brown.
You know what? There was an issue and we tried to replace all of the packets with the corrected packet. So I'm sorry that happened to you.
That's okay.
If you didn't get a corrected packet in your box, then I'll just have Pam.
Yeah, so if I could just get the applesauce recipe. Like I think we got the corrected one, like when I looked at it, but our applesauce recipe looks like this, like I can't see anything.
Yeah, no, the original packet was done so dark that you can't read it.
Yeah, so maybe I didn't get a new one.
Yeah, so it should have been printed in color, which is why that happened, and it got printed in black and white.
Got it.
And it got caught a little bit late, and so
Oh,
you didn't get the new copy.
Perfect, thank you. And then are we using a pot or a pan?
We're using a saucepan. Ideally.
Okay, great, just like that. Put that on the stove.
Okay.
Thank you.
You do want to use a pan that has some height, so versus a flat pot. So a saucepan is ideal. A smaller saucepan. So thanks for the questions, Brenda. I know folks that allowed folks to get some time to get prepared. I want to start with our whole apple. It looks like this. I like to say one of the best ways, or one of the ways I like rather, is I like to peel my apple with an apple peeler. So I removed. This allows for me to see that there were imperfections. First, just using a knife, I just take my spoon and just scoop out this portion, and the rest of the apple is fine. So that's gone. Little boo-boo, not gonna harm you. Because an apple is round, and we like to have flat surfaces for chopping or for cutting, then I like to remove the end of my apple to make it flat. So the top part gets removed. You want to use a cutting board just to hold things in place when that goes away. These can be used for a garden if you have one, or composting. It could also be used to make applesauce blended. You can also just eat it. So now I have 2 flat portions of my apple, and then I'm going to go ahead and slice. Now, because it's a chutney, it doesn't need to be perfect. Some folks like to core their apples to remove the inside. I don't have an apple corer, so I just go ahead and use my knife to remove the insides like that. And this
Excuse me.
We've been trying to ask in the chat.
How many apples do we need?
This called for 1 whole apple. I'm not sure how many you have in your recipe, in your boxes, but this calls for 1. I'm holding 2 just to show you. Is it okay if I use 2? The ratio is going to be a little bit off. You might want to double all the other ingredients.
Oh, okay.
Just to remind folks, a recipe is pre-measured. Someone went ahead and did all the work before us. They made sure that the number of apples or the amount of apples match with all the other ingredients. If you were to increase your number of apples, you want to also double or increase the other ingredients. Does that make sense?
And probably you wouldn't have to double,
Yep.
kids, you wouldn't have to double your apricots and your raisins so much as put
The
in a little more
acids.
spice and a little more acid, okay? And the rest of the apples that were in your box, I have been typing this in the chat, but maybe it's easier to say it, are for the homemade applesauce recipe. So on a different day, when you guys want to try a different recipe, you have the apples in the recipe. There's also a cinnamon stick in there to use to make the applesauce recipe another time. And maybe tonight for those of you who already peeled all those apples.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and chop my apples. Now, because this is a condiment or a chutney, it doesn't need to be perfect, but I did little squares, little cubes. You can just play around with different shapes. I will say the more evenly sized it is, the more evenly it will cook, right? Because you want to apply the same amount of size, give or take, for every recipe you're working on. So you should have just chopped apples, so peeled, chopped, and ready to go. So mine look like these smaller pieces. Compare, and those are ready to go. For those who did not yet chop their apples, just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you need more time or more space. I'll get all my apples together, and I also have my garlic to mince. So are folks pretty much done with apples, working on apples? I'm gonna browse through. We do want to stay on task. All right, looks like folks are done. Thank you for the feedback. Thumbs up. Thank you. All right. So if kind of thumbs up from all the folks who have all their ingredients prepped. And what prepped means is it's open, it's diced, it's sliced, it's minced. Everything that needs to go into your pan is ready to go. Thank you. Okay. If Alec or Gay could let me know when folks are mostly up, I can start. Done. Thank you. Thanks for seeing everybody. So the reason why I have everything done ahead of time is that once your apples go in or all your spices go in, it's really important to pay attention to timing and you're not trying to step back to chop things. So you want to get everything prepared ahead of time. All right. Sounds like
everybody seems to be okay from what I'm reading.
Excellent. All right. So you're going to turn up our saucepan on. I'm looking for a medium flame here. And again, if your stove top's like mine, it goes from 1 to 10. A medium is a halfway mark. Remember, cooking includes math and English and history. So the halfway point is at number 5. Number 6 probably is the highest you want to go. If you have an actual flame, as in fire, you're not looking for small flame or huge flame, you're looking for like medium sized. So ideally, as a marker, you want to make sure your flame is not going beyond your pan, but your flame is right underneath your pan. Does that make sense? That would be a medium. And the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and put our tablespoon of oil in our pan. So once your oil goes in, again, we're trying to make sure that we're not going to burn our ingredients or go way past brown. So you're going to go ahead and measure. I have a measuring spoon here. I think yours is pre-measured. And my tablespoon of oil goes in. When oil goes into a pan, it's usually colder, especially in these months. Once it gets warm, it moves fairly quickly. And just maybe for, honestly, 30 seconds or so, just to get that heated. And you should have your garlic minced and ready to go. No, I didn't follow my own instructions and my garlic isn't ready to go. But you should have your garlic ready to go. Maybe 30 seconds has passed. Your oil is nice and hot. And you're gonna go ahead. Now, you can do one or two things. You can pick up your garlic with your hand, with your spoon. This is like a fancy tool called bench scraper, which allows you to pick things up and it goes in. Just want to grab that. So if you're hearing a little sizzle there, so I'm not looking for a big splashing sound, just a tiny sizzle. You're gonna start moving that garlic around just to soften it up. If your garlic starts going to brown or looking fried, you want to reduce that heat or even pull your pan away. So just looking to extract the flavors from the garlic and to soften them up by sauteing it. I believe our recipe says around 2 to 3 minutes. We're gonna make sure based on the number of garlic or piece of garlic you have in your pan, just saute that very slowly. We're not looking for any browning on that. Next up, we're gonna add, this is called a practice of blooming. So you're gonna add your spices, your mustard seed, and your garam masala directly into your garlic. So why are we doing that, right? So spices are usually the bark, the seed, the leaves, various parts of a plant that has fragrance and like lots of properties. And those, when they're in the store or, you know, on a boat or a ship or an airplane from a foreign country, they're like sleeping, right? So when you put them in the hot oil with that fat, it wakes them up. So spices are usually like laying dormant or kind of like, oh, I'm super tired. But then when you wake them up with the fat, which is the oil and the heat, they become alive. So if you smell that, it should smell really, really, really warm. Almost like a pumpkin spice latte.
Tamika, real quick, a question from Brenda.
Can you just repeat what we're adding after the garlic?
Mustard seeds and garam masala. The two main spices, you're gonna wake those up with the heat and the fat, which is the oil.
And
You're gonna saute them very slowly. It's called
bag.
blooming. Pardon me?
And both of those were in your bag. Yep. One will say garam masala, one will say mustard seed. I see people pulling it out. So
I saw, yes.
My mustard seeds are popping.
They're popping.
Ah.
Okay. You want to lower your
Turn it
flame
down.
a tad bit and just be very careful. So we're blooming or waking those spices up. They're gonna like intermix with the garlic and with the oil, which is the fat. And those three things were separate people. Now they're like best friends. They're hanging out. They're talking to each other, and they're in perfect harmony. Again, since we're talking so much, I'm gonna have folks pull their mixture from their flame. That way we're not burning. So as they're waiting for folks to be ready, just kind of pull it from your flame to make sure it doesn't burn. All right, can we keep moving?
Everything that we have right now, is it just garlic and the seeds?
The garlic and the garam masala, mustard seed, are being sauteed in the oil.
This?
Do you put this in?
Yes. All right, we're gonna move on. Are we good?
Yes.
All right, so you should have your ginger. I'm not sure if you have ginger powder or actual ginger. I have actual grated ginger pieces, which is like lots of fibers pieces. I'm gonna go ahead and put in my remaining ingredients. So my ginger goes in. I'm gonna turn my flame back on.
One more question, Tamika.
Sure.
Giselle,
I put the garlic in first. And ginger. Should I start over?
No, that's okay. Go ahead. So did you have oil in that pan?
Yeah, so can we still
Right.
add the garam masala?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank
Just
you.
be very mindful and probably lower your flame. That way the ingredients aren't burning.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, of course. All right, folks, we're gonna go ahead and put all our remaining ingredients. So I have my apples. I'm putting my apples first, even though it says all the ingredients. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want every piece of my apple to get some of those spices. If you look at my second camera here, the apples went in, they were like, just regular color apples, white. And then I'm gonna stir those around and every single piece will be coated with spices. See the change? It smells beautifully. I'm gonna go ahead and put all my other liquid ingredients in. So I have my red wine vinegar. In my case, I did add my sugar and my salt together. That was 1 tablespoon. You have it pre-measured. You also have 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Are folks still with me?
Tamika, if you get a chance, will you show us your pot there and
Yeah.
reiterate what you have in? Obviously, not everybody's pot looks the same, so but nice to know what Tamika has going on.
Is this a better pot angle?
Perfect.
So I have my pieces of apple in cubes, and they're on the they look brown or spiced because I put those in right into that mixture of the fat, which is the oil, the garam masala, the mustard seeds, and the garlic that was sauteed together. That's called blooming. So you're waking the spices up. And my ginger went in, and my apples went in, and I also put my apple cider vinegar. So I have, and sugar and salt. I'm gonna put that back on my flame just because I need it to be heated. And then my raisins, I have cranberries, you have raisins. Those go in as well. I did forget to chop my my apricots. So I'm gonna be doing that while you guys are catching up.
Do we put everything inside?
Yes. But the order is important. And the order is important because, again, your blooming, so chutneys come from the Indian continent, from India, and spices are very important in Indian cuisine. It warms the body. Some spices are considered to be healing, especially warm spices like these. So you want to put those in first and wait them up. And then your ginger, then your apple. You're gonna coat the apple with the spices. Then you're gonna add your sugar and your vinegar and your raisins. In my case, I wasn't super ready, but now I'm ready with my apricot that I chopped. Why did I chop my apricot? I wanted to make sure that they were on the same size as my apple. So you want to have an even consistency for 2 reasons. For cooking, if some things are super big and some things are super tiny, it will cook unevenly. But also when I'm biting in from my fork or spoon, I'm gonna make sure that the 2 sizes on the plate or on the fork, they match. So these go in. I'm gonna show you one more time what that looks like. Oops, this is better. So you're seeing like tons of liquid in here. I know this is super important, right? So a chutney's consistency, how do I describe it? Ever had fruit preserve or jam? I see a question before I continue. Where's the question?
Do we
I
add
don't
the
believe there's any water in the recipe. Somebody asked that, but I don't believe there's any. Oh, there is. Sorry, there's a half a
There
cup
is
of
a
water.
third of a cup of water.
A half of a cup.
Which I measured it here. That is my boo-boo. Thank you so much. I measured it here. I filtered my water. I measured it here. It was hanging out. Thank you so much. I love when folks are super sharp and even remind the chef that she forgot something. So I just put my half a cup in. It was being filtered in the corner.
Do we add the red wine?
Yeah, so one more time to go over. We started with our blooming of spices, so oil, garlic, and our 2 spices, garam masala and our mustard seeds. Once that bloom for about 2 minutes or so, then we go ahead and we add the ginger. If you had powdered ginger, that's fine. I had grated ginger. Those get sauteed for another 30 seconds or so, just to keep waking those up so they talk to each other. Your apples go in. You still saute those, making sure that all that brown, delicious spices cover each piece of apple. 30 seconds max, or a minute or so. Once that happens, you're gonna go ahead and put everything else in. Everything else means your two kinds of dried fruit, which is your apricot and your raisins. Your sugar, which is a tablespoon, your salt, which is a quarter teaspoon of salt, and then your red wine vinegar. And the last thing I just know was my half cup of water. All those go in. It kind of looks like this, like a stew of sorts. All the items should be fairly covered, but not too much if you're using the correct measures. It goes on my flame, and I'm gonna keep my flame around 6 or 7 this time, only because I want to have my flame higher. So once it starts doing like tight bubbles, I know it's like really nicely heated and starting to boil, and I'll reduce it to 5. Now this should smell like you're baking a cake or something, like lots of warm spices in the house. I'm gonna move my camera on purpose just because I want to have you guys see. Oh, sorry, Alec, gotta move my camera. Are folks seeing that? Nope. There we go. There we go. Nope. You see those tight little bubbles happening? Now that I've achieved that, I'm gonna turn my flame down 20 minutes. So I know everything's, the spices are really.
I think if you tilt the pan in the main screen, it would be better, just
Did
toward
folks see that?
toward your camera.
Thank you. I was trying to give a close up, but I think I'm still figuring out my angles over here. Right. So this is what we have. I'm gonna get my lid for this, and my lid goes on. Lid goes on just so that speeds the cooking process up. But 20 minutes, I'm gonna set a timer, and we can chit chat. We can ask questions. Those folks who are still working, again, this is not a race by any means. Each person is at their own pace, trying to figure things out. But most importantly, I'm gonna clean up, because that's also a part of our cooking process, to make sure we clean up before we end.
I thought I'd also share with everybody that one reason we chose this recipe is it can actually be a nice gift to give somebody. You know, the gift of cooking, and it's something manageable. It's kind of how I got so into cooking, was making food gifts with my mom when I was your age and growing up. So with the holiday season, we thought it would be fun to do something that's delicious for ourselves and can be used in many different ways, but also something nice that you can make for somebody else and, you know, give them as a little gift.
Yeah, thank you so much for reminding me, Gabe. So I did 2 things. Almost any local store, like a True Value or a Walmart or a Target, they sell what are called mason jars in different sizes. They're my favorite 2, like gifting sizes. I am completely blanking on what sizes they are. And then I have a little funnel or just a scoop. It's a little bit thicker, so you may not need one, but it just gets it into it evenly, or an ice cream scoop. And then I go ahead and I make labels sometimes. So it needs to be this fancy. It could just be a really cute piece of tape and handwritten, or a tag. And then they also have covers or lids. And that becomes a great way to package a gift for someone. So you can grab jars. You could also just reuse a jar, right? You don't need to go to the store and buy anything. So if you've bought like jams or jellies or anything, you can save those jars like I usually do. And once you save the jars, you make sure you clean those nicely. And then those could be used as gifting jars for a gift like this. So they're not super expensive, but again, you don't always need to spend money on things. You could just reuse what you already have. Ask a neighbor, ask a friend, or collect jars that you already use for something else. How's that sound? So I'm still cleaning up, because it's super important to clean up.
I want to point a few things else out about the box for everybody. There is also, should be, if you got the right packet, should also be a recipe where you can use your chutney and make a chutney chicken salad. So you're just taking this chutney that you made and adding it as an ingredient to that recipe. And I believe it just got posted in the chat as well. So yeah, you know, each month you're not only going to get the recipe for cooking class, you're going to get a few extra recipes so that you young chefs who are having fun with this have other recipes you can try between classes if you're interested. And you got some romaine lettuce and some scallions in your box. And the scallions can go into that chutney recipe. And then on that recipe, it suggests you use the romaine lettuce to make chicken wraps, you know, chicken salad
Ooh.
wraps. So you can actually use the leaves of lettuce and put the chicken salad in the middle and wrap it up and eat it. So just thought that might be a fun thing to try as well, something a little different than a sandwich.
Yummy. That sounds amazing. Another way I like to use a chutney, whether it's an apple chutney or a mango, a sweet and savory. So this is sweet because it has the sugar, and also apples are naturally sweet, but the spices make it savory. It goes well with like roasted chicken, if you eat chicken, or if you eat pork, roasted pork, any kind of like roasted protein or meat on the side. It goes really nice because it balances that meat and also something sweet or savory on the side. It just reminded me, Gain, maybe I'll send you a copy. There's a book online that I have a recipe in for a roasted meat with a side of apple chutney, actually.
Oh, yum, yeah.
Yeah.
I even put it on fish. So, you know, it's a very versatile thing, a chutney. You really can put it on a number of things. And I also put chutney in with a can of tuna fish and some mayonnaise and toss that up. And that's something different. So it may sound a little strange, but I discovered that one sort of at a time when I didn't really have much else, and I wanted to make my tuna fish taste like something more than a can of tuna, and it actually turned out quite yummy. So you can even try something like that.
Yum. So I'm gonna, while we wait, because I just got inspired, I'm gonna grab a piece of toast and show you some other chutney I have. A way you can make a quick sandwich as well.
Tamika, while you are doing that, I'm going to
Yeah.
reach out and ask some of our amazing youth if they have some comments on this recipe. So anyone, Kai, Genji, Felix, Adele, Iman, Brendan, anyone have any comments on the chutney that you have just created? Genji, go ahead.
Right now the chutney recipe, like, it's boiling, but it smells good.
Lovely.
Awesome. Is that Nasaraya?
Nice, Aria.
Yeah, excuse me.
It smells really good, but it's like when you add all the ingredients into the pot and let it sit for a while, when you go to smell it, it like shocks you a little bit.
I love it.
It's a good shock. Do you like the shock you got? Tell me more.
Interesting shock.
It's an interesting shock.
Okay. Is it the acid or the spices? What do you think the shock comes from?
I honestly think it's from the spices because I think it's from both, because the ginger can be a little like spicy sometimes or a little shocking, and acid can smell sour.
Thank you for a very detailed and descriptive response. Thank you. Great
Amazing.
senses.
Kai, what you got, buddy?
What sort of texture are we looking for? Soft, hard? Or what?
It should be soft, I believe, when it's finished, if that's what you mean. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, it should be softer, chunky, kind of chunky and saucy. It should thicken a bit. Yeah, look at Tamika's spoon there. She's giving
So
you a
this is
sense
some
of what it
pineapple
looks like.
chutney I made a few weeks ago. I just had extra pineapple. I did pretty much the same process like this. And so as Dave was talking earlier, I remember the sandwich I like to have, but it's also really super if you have people over. I just take bread or toast. You can make them fancy or you can make them not fancy. It's kind of like, I don't know if you heard of a crostini, which is usually like cheese or like tomato salsa, but I like to do a piece of cheese on it. So I have a piece of cheese here, it goes on top, and then my chutney goes on top. When I'm feeling super fancy, I might just put a little bit of decor. But this is like a super savory and sweet like appetizer you can have. That took a few seconds to assemble, but you already have the chutney. You probably have cheese at home, maybe you don't, and a piece of toast would be good. I didn't toast mine just now. If I did toast, it would add an extra layer of like texture. When you're making food, you want to think about different textures. So soft, gooey, crunchy, different kinds of textures. So that's one way you could probably use your chutney for a quick appetizer, which is cheese, chutney, and a piece of toast. Like that.
Do we put a lid over it?
Yes, you do. You don't need to. What the lid would do is maintain most of that heat inside the pan. Actually gonna open mine. Wow. And you want to probably realize that by this point, your liquid has reduced. So the heat and the sugar and all the spices was way less than how much you had before. Your apples were chunkier. They have softened up quite a bit. It's definitely not done yet, but again, when we cook, we use all our senses. So I've heard a lot about smelling, right? We use our sight and we see that things look different. So our apples went in nice and thick and white and crunchy. Now the texture is softer. I can hear it bubbling, which I know my flame is still on. And then I could even pull a piece, which is super hot, just be careful. And if I used a fork or a spoon and crushed it, I can tell it has changed in texture. It's like softer, almost cooked. It tastes delicious. So our 20 minutes hasn't gone yet. I canceled my timer, which is not good. Our 20 minutes hasn't gone yet. I believe I have 7 more minutes on mine. We may not get to our 20 minutes all together on camera because folks had theirs on at different time. But in terms of consistency, I'm gonna pull this and make sure folks, you're looking for the liquid, which is super runny right now, to be more syrupy is the word I'll use. So if folks are seeing this, it's like syrupy, you see that consistency? Are folks seeing that? Right now, it's like very liquidy, right? It runs, but I'm not looking for it to be runny. So it needs to go until it has a syrupy consistency. You're also looking for the fruit to be sticky. So think about like a strawberry preserve or apricot jam, but like super sticky and super syrupy. So slow moving. Is that helpful?
Yes. And is it Esau, do you have a question? I know you've had your hand raised for a little while.
Oh, thank you.
I like the ingredients. I've never used them before. It's my first time using these ingredients.
It's exciting. Do you think you're gonna like them?
Yeah, I never tried apple chutney.
Well, it'll be exciting to try. You're gonna have to let us know what you thought of it.
Okay.
I love all the openness and enthusiasm. Thank you guys so much for trying something new.
Yeah.
I see a hand here. Alex,
Yes.
do you have other hands?
Go for it.
So question, is it supposed to be like, so ours, we still have like chunks of apples. Is it supposed to be, are the apples supposed to be squished and like liquidy or chewy, or is it just supposed to stay like that?
So over time, your apples are gonna become squishy, not because you squish them, but the heat and that sugar softened them. Now, this chutney has been sitting for a while. It's also pineapple, so over time it even gets more preserved or softened. But initially, when you remove it from the flame, it's gonna be soft and chunky and gooey. But the cooler it is, the more syrupy it will become, right? When it's hot, it may be more runny. As it cools down, very carefully, because hot sugar, just so you guys know, this is a real serious warning. Please have a parent or adult handle the chutney, because hot sugar really could hurt you, okay? So you want to pull it from the flame and then let it sit for a while before you start handling it. Thumbs up if you all heard that.
Also,
And
I have
what-
another question.
Okay, let me finish this one up, okay? Thank you for having such great questions. When I pull it from the flame and once it's finished, it's gonna be chunky, but definitely cooked all the way through. And when you bite into it, it should be super easy. Like you almost don't need to chew it. It's so soft and so well cooked. Go ahead with your other question. Thanks for asking that one.
My other question was, oh my gosh. So we started making the applesauce, and is there a possible way you can put the applesauce we're adding cinnamon to this to the recipe that we're
No,
making?
not to the applesauce.
Oh,
We're doing two things at once because
yeah,
we
I was
peeled
just
all of our
confused.
apples.
I was confused.
Okay,
So
yeah,
we're
why not?
doing,
Good for you.
We're doing the applesauce and the chutney at the same time because I thought we were doing applesauce. So
Sorry about that.
we've got two recipes going at once.
Yeah, I was just confused because we had the cinnamon come in the box with the wrong recipe.
Right, and that cinnamon stick you can put right in your applesauce. That's what to cook right into your applesauce. That's what the cinnamon stick is for. Yeah. So you can stick that right in your applesauce as it's cooking.
And thank you for your question. It's completely okay if you're not sure to ask any and all questions. That's how we learn things. So thanks for asking that. Maybe there's somebody else online who wanted to hear the answer but didn't ask it. So thank you so much. I did see the comment. Yes, hot sugar can really burn. So make sure we pull our chutney off the flame, have it sit for a minute or two, and have an adult handle that chutney before we hurt ourselves.
That chutney looks beautiful.
We've got
Oh yeah.
Looks great.
two more questions. We're gonna start with Evie. Evie, go ahead with your question.
Can we put the apple, like, can we,
With the apple and lemon juice,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're browning, but they're not, we have to chop everything up, so. Will that mess up the recipe?
yeah.
Are you speaking about, did you say you chopped all your apples? Like
No.
all in the box?
No. I'm chopping my garlic right now, and I peeled everything, and now I'm just chopping everything.
Then they'll be fine, because you know what? They're gonna
They're already
turn a little
browning.
bit brown inside the pan. All that is the oxygen making the color change, but it doesn't change the taste. It doesn't make it go bad. So they can just sit there and brown up a little bit and they'll be fine. Or use the lemon juice.
Okay, I didn't know if that would interact with the other stuff, you know?
So I would say, yeah, thank you for that. She's right completely. It won't change the taste if they brown. But because we have a pre-measured apple cider vinegar and lemon juice is another acid, you might find your chutney becomes super tart or super acidic because you had another layer of acid to it. So I'd say just let it be. Like brown apples are delicious apples. It's completely okay for this recipe because she's right. It's gonna brown up anyway. Does that make sense? If you add more lemon juice, it's gonna go with the apple cider vinegar with the vinegar.
Yeah, that's why I asked. That's why I'm gonna put in the lemon juice. But the lemon juice does help it from not browning, right? Or am I wrong, or is there something else that it is?
Yeah, no, I do think sometimes tossing them in apple juice can prevent them from getting so brown. But I wouldn't do that. Like I said, you don't need to worry about that. So, and that way it won't change the flavor of the recipe.
Is this good?
Thank you.
Oh my gosh,
Thank
they
you,
look
guys.
so gorgeous. You guys did a great job. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank
We
you so
have-
much.
Show and tell
Bye.
time. So folks who have we have about a few more minutes. So again, if you can safely handle your chutney, because there's someone there who can help you out. Can you show us in your camera where you are in your process? Again, only if it's safe to pull it from the pan or pull it from the stovetop. Or, excellent, bring your camera to the pan. That looks good. Really good color. Great consistency. You guys are really, really becoming proficient at this work.
The Ramsey family is the multitasking family of the year right there. Multiple
Thank
recipes,
you.
crushing it.
Beautiful.
Real quick, Esau, you have a question, go ahead.
That my apple cider looks melted. Let me show you.
Am I not seeing the melted apple cider? Where are we?
I think it's a little steamy, Isel. So the steam is making the camera a little foggy when you put it up to it.
Oh,
So just hold the camera higher, that's all. There you go, that's much better. It's looking good.
Definitely looks good.
I
What was your
think you're on-
question, bud?
my question was, does it take 20 minutes to be done?
Yes, it should take about 20 minutes to be finished. And this is where you guys are getting so good at cooking. You've got to trust your senses and listen to what Tamika told us about. The fruit will feel soft. The liquids will get sort of like a thick syrup, and everything will get, just be kind of like a thick, chunky sauce.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Esau. And Genji, I see your hand raised. Go ahead, buddy.
So we don't have chicken, so can we put like this recipe on salad?
Why not?
On toast, on salad. I'd say taste it, see if you like how you like it, and then kind of think up in your mind, this is how recipes are created or dishes are created. Like, this tastes really good. I wonder if I add my roast chicken, and then you try it on and see what works for you. Does that make sense?
I think that's part of what's so fun about this kind of recipe, because part of the real cooks, learning to be a real cook is trusting yourself and being curious and trying things, right? So with a chutney, you can say, this might taste good. Like you're saying, maybe it tastes good on a salad. Why not try it? And you'll find new ways to use different foods by doing that, by experimenting a little bit.
Yeah. If you're like me, you'll just have a jar of chutney in your fridge because you never know when you'll need some.
It comes in quite handy.
I know it's 7:30, so I'm going to hand back over to Alec and team. But as usual, Elevate Youth, you guys always come out with amazing questions, always come up prepared. I've seen the amazing growth from early in the year until now. Folks are so much more proficient. So thank you for showing up and for being amazing, talented cooks. If I don't see you guys for the end of the year, I'll say I'll see you in 2023. Two, right? Not three. 2022.
Don't skip a year yet, Tamika.
Sorry, I'll see you next year, guys. If you have whatever holiday you celebrate, please enjoy it completely.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I know we have two more questions. First of all,
sorry.
Everybody give yourselves a round of a hand right now. And of course, thank you, Chef Tamika. Thank you, Gay, for guiding us through this. Real quick, I know we are out of time. I did put the post-class survey in. We would super appreciate if you filled that out after you're done enjoying your amazing chutney. Cruz Mari, do you have you've had your hand up, so real quick, go ahead.
What we have to do with this?
So Cruz Mari, some of the ingredients that you receive in your box, you can do whatever you'd like with, right? There's some other recipes that we've put in the literature in the box. So you don't have to add everything that you have in the box within this recipe. Cool? Awesome.
Yeah, the idea for the lettuce was either to use it for a salad or use it as lettuce wraps with your chutney and some meat, or if you make
He's
the,
like gonna use it for a
the
salad.
chutney salad. Yeah, look, that's beautiful. Great idea.
Awesome.
Gingy salad looks awesome.
Yeah.
It looks delicious.
Jax, what you got, buddy?
I have a question.
Go for it.
So the liquid in my chutney evaporated really quickly. So is there any way I can add more liquid to it? Like just adding water?
Absolutely. If you need to, just put a little at a time, you know? Maybe a
Okay.
tablespoon or 2 tablespoons, and just see how much you need that way so you don't get too much in there.
Great questions, everyone. We are up to our time limit. I am so proud of everyone. You guys are doing unbelievable work, literally becoming chefs in front of our eyes. You know what the best part of tonight was, I think, other than seeing the smiles and the enjoyment, was Tamika forgot a step. Chef Tamika forgot a step. So even the professional is not perfect, right? And that's something to remember. Anything that we're doing, we can't be perfect, but sometimes we'll make a mistake and then we'll realize it and we'll come back and we'll say, hey, I forgot to put in this water. Here's a little bit of water. So I think super important to remember, especially in cooking, because we'll make a lot of mistakes. Nothing is perfect. But the best part is learning and experimenting and being able to be flexible and creative. So super proud of everyone. I hope everyone enjoys their dish. This will be our last E.A.T cooking class of the year, but we will come back in 2022 and have amazing dishes to come. And we are so thankful for everyone here.